Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Grateful Anglers Podcast. I'm Big John, also known as John Milson, and I'm here with
John Bondy.
John Bondy.
This is our first episode. We're just going to do a little introduction of ourselves and just kind of go from there and talk about our history and that type of thing.
Before we get started, guys, just want to thank everybody for tuning in, we've already received subscribers on our YouTube channel, and just want to wish everybody happy holidays. Be safe. It's crazy weather out there. I don't think anybody's on the ice around here yet, but be safe and have great holidays. And yeah.
You know, I've seen some hilarious videos on the internet the last few days of guys trying to secure their huts down out in the prairies and stuff like that, and it's hilarious to watch these things tumbling down the lake.
I don't miss those days, guys. I used to ice fish. There was a time, but I prefer waiting for all that ice to clear the river. And
won't be long though. We got some real cold nights here, and we're gonna do a little ice report on who's catching what, where, type of thing, and hopefully you guys will come back and listen to what we got to say quite often. And Big John, why don't you talk about a little bit about your history and how you started fishing? Who got you into fishing? You know, what age? What are your first few experiences? That type of thing.
Well, it's I'm 44 years old now, so I guess you can consider me an old man now. But I started out when I was 4 years old. My father took me down to Alexandra Park in Windsor, and we caught it just right. It was just in the start of the silver bass run, and we had great success. Caught a ton of fish, and the end of that day, my dad never fished before that day, and he said, you know, do you like this? You know, you like fishing? And I said, I love it. It wasn't a week later, my dad found a used boat, and actually he found two of them, and he took me to go look at them. And I had my choice. We had our choice between a Thundercraft and I forget what the other boat. It was a aluminum boat. So I thought the Thundercraft was pretty cool back then. It had a little 50 horsepower Merc. I think they called them the Tower of Power or something back then.
Yeah.
And yeah, we you know, my dad worked together with a well-known fisherman in Windsor, Wayne Fields, and his boys Greg Fields and Brad Fields are just amazing fishermen, and they marked out a little map for my dad on where to fish, because we didn't know nothing. So yeah, they marked out this map, and we just started fishing. And I remember back in the day, we didn't have a trolling motor on the boat or nothing. We were basically just dragging like spreaders and worm harnesses by Peach Island, and we were holding our own for walleye. Now, when we first started, we tried taking that technique and going back to LaSalle, and it was a whole different ball game. We didn't do as well. So right then and there, we thought we needed to be out by Peach Island, which is the mouth of Lake St. Clair and Detroit River. And yeah, anyways, we had a great time. And then throughout the years, I just kept doing it, and you know, I bought my first little boat, I think, when I was $13. When I was 13 years old, I bought a little 12-foot boat with a little 3.5 horsepower. My dad gave me restrictions on where I could go to the salt mine and then back to LaSalle. And we also used to drive our bikes after school and fish LaSalle. You know, all the little cuts. We'd hop over the fence in people's backyards, but you know what? Like my dad always said, you know, he tells me now, you know, it kept you out of trouble growing up, and you really enjoyed it. And I'm thankful that my father did that with me. And then I started doing a little tournament fishing when I was 18. That's where I met John. And yeah, you know, we weren't as successful as you were at it, but we had a lot of fun. And I kind of got out of the bass tournaments, did a few walleye tournaments, and then I got right out of tournament fishing altogether and just went over to leisure fishing. And here I am today, still doing it, love it. And John, what's your story? You got a lot more interesting stories than I do. And how did it all start for you? Like, I mean, this guy basically took something that we all love doing, and he made it a career and a successful career. So talk about how it all started and how you got to where you're at today.
It's hard to believe I'm going into my 29th year as a guide. But it all started in grade school in LaSalle, where we had all this access to all these canals and bays, and you just get on your bike. And I had some friends from school, and I had to credit them, Matt, Rodney, and Stanley. They know who they are, and they just got me into fishing. Nobody in my family fished. It's a strange thing, is you know, my dad was a bit of a duck hunter growing up, but nobody fished, no uncles, nobody to take me. So I literally learned from Hal Lindner and Bob Azumi on TV, and these three buddies of mine. I remember fishing a couple of times, and when I was just little, and seeing fish caught, you know, in different ways right off the shore. I just had this impression that you needed a boat to catch fish, but seeing largemouth and crappie and all these things caught right around pilings and stuff in the river, that just opened up all kinds of doors for me. And I just started going crazy, buying stuff, everything fishing related, and it just took off from there. And I remember the first time I tried to go ice fishing. I was with a friend, Matt, from school, and it was nothing for him to go out on the ice, but my family thought this is not safe. So one day I remember bugging my dad. I'm like, Dad, you gotta let me go. Like, you gotta let me go. It's ice fishing, you know. And I bugged him and bugged him and bugged him enough. He finally had it. He's like, just go. So I got on my bike in the snow, and I met up with my friend Matt.
Just snow tires?
Yeah. And it wasn't long, maybe a half an hour into this, here comes my dad. And he sees me on the ice on a bay quite close to the river current, but we were in a bay. And he says, "You get your butt up here right now." And I was like, "What's the problem here? You said I could go fishing." And his exact words were, "I didn't think you would actually do it." And when I got on that dock, he kicked me in the butt.
Oh.
And I'm not kidding. He kicked me in the butt so hard, I bet I flew 8 feet.
Wow.
I flew 8 feet. I was just a little kid. And I've never forgot that. And I couldn't understand, because I'm like, you just said I could go, you know. But I flew through the air when he gave me a boot in the behind. And I guess, you know, he didn't want his little boy out on the ice. He didn't know, you know, it's not safe, really. But I'll never forget that growing up. And so it was a while before I got back out there. But yeah, I just started fishing a lot and started getting into boats. I remember my dad one day said, "You know, why don't you start saving for a boat?" And that really got the wheels going in my head. So I was in the classifieds all the time looking for aluminum boats for sale. Eventually got better and better at fishing. Then I saw the Bassmasters on television one time when I was like 15, and I said, I want to do that. And I just worked my way up and started fishing tournaments locally. And then I met this guy one time who worked for Champion Boats, and he said, if you really want to go far in the fishing and the tournaments, don't waste your time in all these small tournaments. Focus on a handful of big ones every year. Put all your money into that. So that's what I did. I started fishing the Bassmaster Opens, or they used to be called the Invitationals. And after 4 years of fishing them around the U.S., I qualified for the Bassmaster Elite Series.
Wow.
And that was in 2005 I qualified.
Did you, sorry to butt in, but did you have to qualify in the Northern Divisional to get to that?
You could pick what division you wanted. I picked the Northern Division, so that's like Lake Champlain to to Virginia to Kentucky Lake, that kind of.
Wow.
And eventually, my third year, I missed it by one fish.
Wow.
Qualifying. I'll never forget it. So I went back for a fourth year. I got in, and I ended up fishing 4 years on the Elite Series with Van Dam and all the boys. And I look back at all these formative things when I was a child. You know, if I didn't live near the water, I don't even know what I'd be doing for a living. I could be in prison for all I know. You know what I mean?
Now, when you started fishing that elite series, what age category were you in then? Like I when I fished tournaments with John, it was at a smaller level. It was Rose City Bassmasters back in 1998. It was a local club, but this local club was a registered club, and they had a Canadian fish off, and you could actually qualify for the Northern Divisional there. But how old were you when you went down south and you lived out of your truck and fished the big tournaments, John?
I was fishing the Northern Opens in my 20s.
Wow.
And then I got into the Bassmaster Elites when I was like early 30s. And you know, I was single at the time, and I went away a couple times where I never came back to Canada for 3.5 months. I was just living in my truck, living in campgrounds, hotels, whatever, going from tournament to tournament. And, you know, I lived my dream, that's for sure. But now I'm back, you know, I've just been guiding all these years back now. I'm married now, got a child, and settled in here in the hometown. And that's where we're at right now.
Johnny fished so much in the United States that he's picked up the American accent.
Yes.
And yeah, it's...
I loved it in the South. I mean, it shaped a lot of who I am, being in Texas and Alabama and all these places. Made so many friends down there and just saw a different culture altogether. But I picked up this twang, and it's not gone away. I get asked all the time where I'm from. My in-laws didn't believe I was from Canada for months after I met my wife. And I don't know. I love going down south, that's for sure. It's been a while, though, for me. I went down to Alabama last year, but it's just for a business trip. But I love the South. There's nothing like it.
And for me, guys, I know I'm a little bit more boring than John, but like my career's, I'm a transport truck driver, and I just get to fish, you know, on the weekends. And in the spring, you know, I fish throughout the week, a few afternoons throughout the week, because we get the, you know, pretty solid walleye run.
Well, don't let John fool you, because he was in my shop one day, and guys were coming in asking if I knew Big John, and I said, well, yeah, I've known him for 25 years. And these guys, they couldn't believe it. And guess what happened? 5 minutes later, in walks Big John. These guys wanted their photos with him.
Oh yeah,
remember that?
Yeah, they're nice guys too.
Big John's got his place on the internet where he's got a ton of followers on his page there, and
just like having fun.
Yeah, he's like the Kevin Van Dam of Windsor.
No, I'm nowhere close to that. But
he's got a lot of followers, and a lot of people see him out on the water. That's Big John over there.
But tell them a little bit too about your, you know, you got this beautiful tackle shop now, and you got you've been building baits for a long time, John. Like, tell them a little bit. Like I say, we're not going to keep you all day today, guys. This is the first podcast, 001 or whatever you want to call it. But tell them a little bit about that.
Well, you know, when I was doing my guiding, I started adding up. I'm like, there's only a certain number of days in a year, so you're going to be limited at that kind of income for the rest of your life if that's all you do. So I've always tinkered in baits, and I started making plastic worms in the mid 80s, and I created Bondi Bait Company after a while, specifically because of the Bondi Bait original for musky jigging. And it grew and grew and grew, and here we are all these years later. I sell to all the big stores. I sell to at least 100 stores. But where we're filming now is from Bondy's Fishing Shop here in Windsor. And how this started was we were in this small little shop in a cul-de-sac in another location, and people found us somehow. Were knocking on the door wanting to buy tackle and equipment, and we didn't sell anything there. And so the wheels started turning, and I was like, you know, Windsor really needs a good shop. So fast forward 4 years, here we are where we're filming, and I never really intended on ever having a tackle shop, really, but it's really gotten busy in here, and we've got piles of stuff coming in this coming spring. So we went from nothing to having a full-blown tackle shop with live bait and everything. It just kind of happened, really.
Yeah.
And so Big John comes and hangs out here. A lot of guys come and hang out here and talk fishing, and that's how we got this idea for the podcast. It just come out here and do fishing reports and talk about ice thickness and interview great local anglers and tell funny stories and do some comedy and maybe do some on location type filming. And we're looking for ideas for guests to come on and topics.
Yeah, if you're an interesting person in the industry, we'd love to have you. Whether you're a guide, a ministry officer, bait builder, whatever it is, it just, I mean, inbox me, send me a message, and or send Johnny a message, and yeah, we'll work something out. But yeah, guys, so yeah, I do come in every week, but the whole reason I come in every week lately is because I just got into the whole trolling thing about a year ago, and I've been coming and getting like a bandit a week, 2 bandits a week. That way it's not too hard on the wallet, and your collection builds up quick.
I never seen you ever since muskie. I seen you go crazy on the muskie, but this walleye trolling has got Johnny hooked.
Well, it's hooked because I'm going to go back to the muskie fishing too. But the thing is, I haven't figured the trolling thing out yet 100%. So I'm trying to learn it a little more. Not saying I figured the muskie thing out, because that's you guys always know how that situation goes. And actually, I'll tell you a little bit how I got into the muskie fishing. I haven't been muskie fishing my whole life. I think it's been about 8 years. 8 years ago, we were in LaSalle, me and my buddy Chris, and we were jigging for walleye. It was just after opening day of muskie, early June, so you kind of get that mix where you still got walleye in the river and you got muskie in the river. And my buddy Chris says to me, "Look at all these guys, you know what they're doing?" I said, "Yeah, they're jigging for walleye." He said, "John, look at the rods." He goes, "They're jigging this river with those Bondi baits and getting big muskie." And Chris was never into it before that either. So I looked at him and I said, "Well, I'll get into it if you want to get into it." And he said, "Yeah, let's do it." So right off the bat,
thousands of dollars later.
Yeah, right off the bat, we went home and we started watching your videos, John, where you're sitting under a tree and your amazing hook sets. It just looked like so much fun that we went out. First thing we bought was a really good net and some tools, because we did do a little bit of research on the stuff that you need to properly care for muskie. And yeah, we went out after that. We went out like every day for 3 weeks and didn't catch one, and then it happened. And it happened when we were daydreaming. and we were in the river. I won't give the location because everybody knows it anyways, but it was one of Johnny's spots that we saw in the video. And bam, it happened. And we didn't have a bump board or anything like that, but it was, the first fish was a nice fish. I'll put a little picture up of it. My hold wasn't the perfect on it, but I was cradling it and supporting the stomach. But over years, I learned how to properly hold a muskie and properly release a muskie. And yeah, man, it's just been fun all along. But
you say that you haven't got the whole walleye trolling thing figured out. I think you've come a long way, but what we want to do is we want to have guys in here that are experts at certain things, whether it's setting up for ice fishing or trolling walleye or whatever. And we're gonna take what they have to say and run with it, And so if you guys know any anglers that are experts in certain techniques, have them contact us, and we'll put them on the podcast. And everybody wants to see that,
Yeah, and we got so many great local guys around here with so many different techniques to fish in this Detroit River, Lake St. Clair, and Lake Erie. We're fortunate, man.
Oh, this is paradise here,
It is, man.
And I've traveled everywhere. I've fished probably 35 states, and a lot of people ask me about Lake St. Clair. Everywhere I go, a lot of people have asked me about Lake St. Clair. And people, you got better scenery and that up north, but as far as quantity of fish and methods of catching them and species, I mean, this is paradise here, really.
We love it. So, guys, thanks for subscribing. And if you haven't subscribed, you can subscribe. This is kind of just something fun that we wanted to start. I've been filming for years under the Big John channel, and John's been guiding and building baits and doing all that stuff. And yeah, we decided to do something fun and get some interesting people on the show. It's nothing serious. We're not here to brag or anything like that. We're just out to have a good time, have a coffee, and talk to some really cool people, man.
You know what? One thing John and I have in common is we like to laugh.
Yeah.
We laugh at everything. So that's why we think we're a good match for this. I just love comedy and funny stories and stuff like that. So if you ever heard John's big belly laugh, it's worth coming back to watch. And
that's how we got the counter here, so you can't see the big belly laugh. No.
we have a good old time, man. It's always something. He never comes here and doesn't laugh his head off about something. So
yeah, we've always had a good time, and even from the day I first met you, I mean, we were small time. Like, he was already big when we were fishing the tournaments, and
you know what? Stay humble.
We had a little.
You gotta stay humble all the time.
When that first started, we had a little 14-foot. We had a little 14-foot boat with a 40 horsepower on it, and yeah, we had fun though. We had fun.
That's what it's all about. You know, we want to get kids involved too.
Back in those days, 18 pounds won a tournament. You know?
Yeah, largemouth. Back then. Now you don't even bother enter if you don't have 25 a day.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Jeez, I don't know if it's the combination of the gobies and the cleaner water and just everything. The fishing is just, I mean, back in the day, you'd have big American tournaments where 16, 17 pounds of largemouth could win.
Yeah.
One day, one guy, you know what I mean? You don't even just dump them back in the lake if that's all you got nowadays, you know.
That's why this podcast is called The Grateful Anglers, because we are truly grateful for what we have all around us. I kind of, everybody calls Niagara Falls the Golden Horseshoe, but I kind of call this the horseshoe. Like, we're surrounded by water, man, and you throw a wind at us, we still got somewhere to go.
Did you see those forecasted waves for Lake Erie yesterday? They had waves forecasted in this gust, 32-foot maximum.
Yeah.
32-foot waves. I mean,
and we got no water in the river here right now.
If
you wanted to go fishing right now, I don't even think you'd get your boat in. It's so shallow.
It's a nice chop, though.
Yeah.
Nice walleye chop.
Yeah.
Right. But
hey, that long-range forecast, though, you never know. You might see some boats back on the water in a couple weeks.
And I think these canals are going to ice up here. They should have 3-4 inches within a few days in there, and we're off to the races with the ice fishing.
I'm thinking differently, man. I'm thinking we're going to get our boats back in second week of January. But we'll see. Cheers, guys. We love yous. Happy holidays. Be safe. And what do you think, Johnny?
If you ever come to the shop, we're at 3796 County Road 17. And if you see the big white dog outside, his name's Lupo, and he's friendly. Some people drive off because he's monstrous, but he just wants to play, and he wants you to scratch his belly. So say hi to Lupo when you show up here, and
that's your mascot, man.
He's our mascot. Yeah, come on down and see us.
Maybe you can send me a little picture of Lupo, and I'll throw it up here on the video.
Yeah, we got pictures of Lupo. He's our buddy.
Yeah, send me a little picture today.
I will.
Cheers, guys. We'll talk to you later.